You're in the information age, but facts are in short supply. Reject the noise, ask bold questions, and pursue the truth with FBI whistleblowers and founding suspendables Garrett O'Boyle and Steve Friend. This is the American Radicals Podcast.
It is the American Radicals Podcast on a Saturday. The weekend's here. Congratulations, everybody. You made it through another grinding 5-day work week, and Saturday is here. And as are we on the American Radicals Podcast, rumble.com/amradpod. Give us a thumbs up and follow the channel here on Rumble. If you want to subscribe to the audio format on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, we would appreciate us. We're trying to grow, trying to radicalize more Americans every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at 10:30 Eastern time. The tradition, like no other, continues here on a Saturday. It's the Saturday grab bag. So we're going to get through an entire smorgasbord, a menagerie of different items, actually a lot of like futuristic stuff that kind of came across my radar and I wasn't heard talked about. We like to kind of go for these deep polls and educate as many people as we can. So we're going to talk about surveillance capitalism, the concept behind that, and the cautionary tale. It's like Minority Report is no longer fiction. It's sort of prophecy. There's flesh-eating flies in the beef. Driverless trucks are going to launch across the state of Texas. Gene-edited food is going to be on a plate near you, and you might not even be aware of it. And the Menendez brothers might be up for release from prison. So a whole bunch more to get to today. Excited to get to it all. Let's thank the sponsor of today's show. That's the M-Clip Company, m-clip.com, m-clip.com. And when you go there, you can use our promo code SUSPENDABLE to get 10% off these money clips. American made. It's all about America. This is family owned, though. They've been in business for a couple of decades now. They're really sleek. They're luxury goods. We are in May. Guys, coming up on Father's Day, graduation season. These are some really cool gifts. Get some initials monogrammed on them. Baseball teams. You can get the Suspendables logos. All of it. 10% off if you go to m-clip.com and use our promo code proprietary to the American Radicals Podcast, and that is Suspendable. Saturday is here. Garrett is here. Let's bring him on and get to it at GOB Actual. You can find him on social media. You ready to go, my friend?
Oh, I'm ready, Steve. We've got a full bag, it sounds like. So
yeah, I mean, it's like Santa Claus, like when he first launches from the North Pole. I know you reject those forms.
it might be a little more like Krampus with some of the tales of futurism that you're about to bring to us.
Certainly a concern. It's more prophecy than it is fantasy or science fiction at this point. But let's get to this big piece that I found, and it's an interesting one because it comes from the political left, if I had to guess. But it doesn't matter when they're pointing out some legitimate things here. It just they want to assign the blame to one side or another. I think I'm kind of beyond that. But they zero in on the grocery chain Kroger's, which I'm familiar with coming from the Southeast. I don't know if they're up and around you, Garrett.
You know, I have a fear, Steve, that it's all going to come together for me. So we've got this place up here called Pick and Save, and it's a staple and has been a staple, I think, in the entire state as long as I can remember. Definitely in southeastern Wisconsin, which is where I'm from. And you know, like the Kroger brand, like the store brand that a lot of these places have.
Yeah.
So for most of my life, the Pick and Save brand was this brand called Roundy's. And I remember as a kid who used to drive past like the Roundy's, I don't know, shipping center or whatever. And I just remember growing up on Roundy's food because it was cheaper. Well, Kroger bought Roundy's some years back now, and so now all the Pick and Saves, they're still Pick and Save, but they're really Kroger. And all the, store brands are Kroger brand, and now you bring this to us and I think like, "Oh, they're just expanding their empire and we're all here to pay for it." It sounds like.
We will all pay for it. And let me get into some of the concepts here that are introduced. So there could be some terminology folks are not familiar with. Let's lay the groundwork for it. Personalized pricing. I mean, gosh, these consult speak and terminology is amazing what goes on here. Personalized pricing. That refers to the practice of a business using consumer-specific data about their conduct or characteristics to set different prices to different consumers based on what the business thinks they're willing to pay. So you're probably more willing to pay for something like if you have a baby, you're probably willing to pay a premium for baby formula. Whereas if I don't have a baby, I'm less likely to do that. So there's a difference there. There's dynamic pricing, refers to non customer specific variables. And then just depending on changes in the demand and supply. And think of like Uber. I mean, after a concert, the Uber prices go way up, right? Because the supply has to meet that increased demand and people are willing to pay more to get home. Now let's get to surveillance pricing. And this is all part of the surveillance capitalism. It's a practice whereby companies collect or obtain your data and use a variety of techniques to target different prices to specific consumers. So it's no longer like you and I both walk past the same item on the shelf and get the same price. It depends on the person, and they have the ability to do that because they've been collecting data. Because all these free brand, uh, the rewards cards and things like that, where they're able to track what you purchased on that.
Yeah.
It's it's very specific. They know what your typical buying habits are. When you're in there and your phone is, the data is captured on that, and they see like, oh, you have apps that pertain to physical fitness. So you're probably more likely to go buy a protein bar than somebody else. So they're able to capture all of that. And as a result, they can target not just specific pricing, but they can specifically advertise to you while you're in the store.
Yeah, it makes sense. We mentioned or the tap credit card recently, I was talking about how it makes things a lot easier. It's quicker. I just got to tap it real fast, and it's like, oh, that's convenient. But when you think of the long term effects, this is of course is how they get you. They make things simple and appealing and fast. And I think of even my Pick and Save app, Steve. So my essentially my Kroger app, and when I go on there, it'll show me past purchases, things you frequently
Do
buy,
you want to buy it again?
wanna buy it again.
Let's reduce the friction, just one click
Uh-huh,
away,
and
right?
then it'll have, like, things you might be interested in based off your buying purchases, and it's like, now you bring this to us. I'm really thinking, uh, eschatological, which is, like, end times, in theology, and, oh, I don't know if I'll be around for it, but, Steve, we are on the brink, man, because it's tapping credit cards, it's apps on your phone. Pretty soon it'll be like Google Glass, but it'll be like contact lenses. Then it's going to be something in your wrist after they upgrade from everybody's mandatory Fitbit.
Oh, the Fitbit's gonna be coming. You're gonna have the ability to tap that Fitbit as opposed to whipping out the credit card. I mean, unfortunately, M Clip might be a thing of the past because your money clip will be gone. It'll all be stored on some sort of wrist bracelet. But
Yes.
here's some examples, right? So Target, which I don't shop at because of the gayness, they charged $100 more for a TV on its app when the person was close to the Target store, the actual physical location, because they considered that the person was more likely to buy the TV. So they
Yeah.
actually upped the price. So if you're at home on the couch and we're looking at the exact same TV, Target charge you $100 less, right?
What sense does that make?
Because of the geolocation ability, they were able to determine that people in closer proximity to the brick and mortar store are willing to pay more money. So we're going to go ahead and get that extra $100.
I see. Oh man.
Orbitz, the travel company, right? That you can go book your travel to find you the lowest fare and
I'm an
all that.
Expedia guy, Steve.
Oh, man. Well, you probably should stay there. I'm sure Expedia is on the
Oh
straight and
yeah.
narrow.
No doubt.
Orbitz inferred that Mac users, rather than PC, they're willing to spend more on booking hotels, and they steered them to more expensive options than the
Hmm.
PC users
I
because
only have a
they're
Mac because
fancy.
Kyle Seraphin told me to get a Mac.
Same here. So those same booking sites, not specific to Orbit, so could be Expedia. They charged higher prices for the same hotel rooms based on what city that you were actually viewing their website or their app from. So if you're in a podunk Wisconsin town, you're going to get cheaper rates than if you're viewing it from like a major city, because the presumption is you're a higher net worth individual. So they're going to go ahead and throw that price at you because you might not get the sticker shock because you're used to the higher prices.
Dude, this is already creepy.
Oh, it's
And
It gets better,
Oh,
Garrett.
I believe it.
Let's talk about ESLs, not English second language. Electronic shelf labels. They're small screens that replace the little paper price labels that you go in and you see the price. But now because it'll be more efficient, and I'm sure because minimum wage is totally not price somebody out of a job, they'll just say, hey, it's cheaper to install electronic ones that we can go into the computer system and automatically change with the price that's listed. But it also gives you no lag time in order to do that. A physical person has to walk around the store, right? That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. You don't want to put the wrong price on there because it'll misrepresent it. People will be very unhappy. So let's talk about how scary this gets with the electronic shelf label. Small screens replace the paper price labels. They allow the grocery stores to change the prices in seconds rather than having the employee, so they save on employee costs. They can be used for dynamic pricing, which we alluded to earlier, allowing stores to adjust the prices based on factors like the time of the purchase, where the grocery store is located, other data. You could pick an item off the shelf, and then by the time you go to check out, the price will be different. And who's to say that they don't just do that all the time? Like
Right.
2 cents up every single time you pick it off the shelf. You'll hardly notice it,
Yeah,
but
you
they've
won't
just
notice.
increased the
Yeah.
margin.
Because you're going to be thinking, oh, when I saw my self-serving commercial at the window or in the freezer aisle, it was $6.90. It was $6.49. And then when you check out and it's $6.99, you're not paying attention when you scan it. You got a cart full of things, and so you're just moving on with your day. But it turns out, Steve, we happen to have a video of what this might look like. Check this out.
A road diverges in the desert. Lexus. The road you're on, John Anderton, is the one less traveled. Make sure you are on time.
Good evening, John. You can move the old-fashioned
John Anderton.
Century 21
Stands provides gourmet cuisine.
John Anderton, you can use a Guinness right about now.
Stressed out, John Anderton.
Escape from it all, Harrison. Get away, John Anderton.
That's enough of that. For those of you who don't know, that comes from the early 2000s movie Minority Report, which maybe, Steve, just maybe, one of these Saturdays we'll have to cover down on that a bit more. Now that we've
I like the
opened.
better scene when he puts in the different eyeballs and it calls him Mr. Yakamoto.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, and look, that's a great allusion to the next element of this, and actually the final thing we get to on this original piece here on the surveillance capitalism from Kroger, but from across the entire market. Kroger itself partnered with another company called Cooler Screens. They installed digital screens that embed cameras and sensors to replace the refrigerator and freezer doors. So instead of being able to look inside and see the Ben and Jerry's that you don't want to buy because they're communists,
Get the Haagen-Dazs that's right next to it.
It will see your face instead and say, "Hi, John Anderton. You remember how you got the chocolate chunk last time?
Why don't you try the graham cracker swirly?"
And then, finally, whenever things are free, you are the product. So shouldn't surprise anybody. Grocery stores like Kroger, they get all that data and they sell it. They sell your data to other individual companies, other industries, so that they can manipulate you in the same way. So everything's all good here. How are you?
I'm good too. John Anderton. I can't get that out of my head now. Just wouldn't that drive all of us into the loony bin if you're hearing your name and his commercials keep changing and popping up for you? Lexus to Guinness to whatever.
It is interesting that they advertised Lexus and then immediately into alcohol.
Yes.
But they had self-driving cars, so I guess it wasn't an issue in the movie itself. How about some flesh-eating flies, Garrett?
Can't go wrong there. Never can go wrong with flesh-eating fungi or larvae, I guess I should say.
From the private industries like the grocery stores that are eating out your substance to the actual maggots that are eating out the substance in the food that we're trying to purchase from them, the United States is halting cattle imports from Mexico, citing fears of a flesh-eating maggot, reporting from NPR. The maggots are not transgender. I was surprised. Concerns over flesh-eating parasites have led the U.S. to halt all imports of live cattle, horses, bison across the southern border. The Agriculture Secretary, her name is Brooke Rollins, made a decision last week citing a northward spread of the New World screwworm,
That sounds dangerous.
which has been detected in southern Mexico in last year. Screwworm isn't actually a worm, it's a fly. The maggots feast on the flesh and blood of their hosts with tiny moth hooks. Left untreated, the parasitic infection can kill a full-grown cow within 1 or 2 weeks. The risk to the humans is not significant, but it'll kill off all the different cows, horses, whatever livestock. So they're concerned about it. And I found an actual sister piece to this one, also from NPR,
Isn't
about the
that what the
history.
commies want, though, Steve? Don't they want to kill off all of our bovine animals?
We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, boy.
But I want to close the loop. This is from Goats and Soda, which is part of NPR, which we
I
found.
like the name a lot more, but I don't like my taxpayer dollars going to any of the media.
How this one I'm conflicted on, because this seems like intervention in God's green earth, but it actually it did have a positive impact seemingly, but you never know the long stream effects, or certainly they are not felt now because we're stopping imports of livestock with this actual exact same parasite. But here's a little bit of a history lesson for you, Garrett. How the screwworm's sex life saved your steak. Again,
What?
they're not tranny, but it's fun. In the 1930s, Department of Agriculture hired a bunch of scientists to study this fly. The main guy is called Nippling. He had a crazy idea: develop birth control for the male flies. He wanted to sterilize a bunch of the male flies in a lab, then unleash them into the wild. And after 20 years, he convinced them to let him do it. He released 50 million flies, and it worked. Screwworm flies started to disappear. Cattle no longer died from the larval intrusion. And by early 1959, the screwworm had disappeared from the entire southeast United States. By 97, the project wiped out screwworms all the way from Texas to Panama. And then the time of this article was like about 10 years ago. The USDA continues to release these sterile flies into Panama to prevent it. So I don't know, maybe there's been some sort of super bug that now has overcome that's become more proliferate in being able to procreate.
Yeah, or Anthony Fauci was tinkering around in his Wuhan lab to make it more resistant to this guy's amazing research. Now, typically, I would say I don't like when humans do this type of thing because we don't know the greater cost to the ecosystem that's going to happen when you eradicate the screwworm. I'm not a screwworm uh,
Advocate?
expert or advocate. Definitely not an advocate. Certainly no expert on the screwworm. I think, Steve, without any further information on it, I'm okay with it being eradicated because you know what? Nothing's going to get between me and my beef. Beef, it's what's for dinner, is what I grew up on. And I say, bring us more beef. Everybody start eating more beef. It's good for you. It's healthy. Eat less carbs, eat less sugar, eat more meat. But also, Steve, why are we importing meat from Mexico? One of the great things about America is our cattle industry, our beef. So what's going on there? Maybe something to dig into in a future episode of the American Radicals podcast.
Yeah, maybe it's the mRNA injections we gave them all, and then they all
you
keeled
know,
over. Remember that whole die-off that Texas had? They said it was like a heat wave, and it was
Yeah.
in April.
Yes, I remember. Oh, and wasn't there some other places too? You got all these cattle belly up, and it's like, well, something's going on here. Or all those, all the fires that were happening at some of the factory farms. Not that I'm a huge fan of factory farms, but hey, without a paycheck for nearly 1,000 days, you kind of got to cut your losses where you can. And I still got to eat my meat, Steve.
Yellow tagged or not, you got to eat the beef. That being said, how do you feel about gene-edited meat, the subject of the next
Oh
one? Natural
man.
Health 365, Powerful Solutions. They're super excited about gene-edited pork. The
It depends
CRISPR.
on what this means. I've heard of CRISPR before. I know you'll give us a good rundown. And we really do have a science fiction themed show going on today because I can't help think about another sci-fi classic, the movie Gattaca, where there was gene editing going on. And as guys who both have asthma, I would have been okay with that gene being edited, or for me, flat feet as well. Go ahead and edit that gene out. The asthma may have been from all the infant vaccinations. So
Then they did play music on the piano that it could only be played with 6 fingers on each hand, which was
that
excellent. All right. So let's talk about
he's seen the movie, folks.
the CRISPR pigs, which is a fun name. I got to be honest. It just makes you think about
Yeah.
bacon, right?
I was thinking about crackling pigskin.
So the FDA approved gene-edited pigs. Now, the pigs are resistant to this syndrome, which is called PRRS, porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome. It's a virus plaguing industrial pig farms. We're back to you don't like the factory farms. CRISPR technology removes this cellular receptor. It's I don't know. It's very sciencey. It blocks this PRRS, but critics are warning that the virus could mutate and become more dangerous.
Yeah, again, in the Chinese lab with Anthony Fauci sitting in the corner.
There's no labeling requirement. So that means that consumers are going to be unknowingly buying gene edited pork as early as next year in your bacon.
Oh, thanks, government.
The FDA's approval of CRISPR pork sets a worrying trend, paving the way for gene edited chickens, cattle,
Yes.
other livestock. Do you think they're going to do it to the almonds?
Probably at some point.
Corporate interests, including Bill Gates, a major CRISPR proponent, are
Dude.
driving this agenda under the guise of solving food insecurity. But the lack of long-term safety studies and mandatory labeling raises some ethical concerns.
Yeah.
Not labeling it and no labels. And Bill Gates is on board. I think I've seen enough about CRISPR.
Where's the Maha movement on this one, Steve? Because this sounds like something that RFK Jr. would be decrying in some hearing somewhere, but the government approved it. So where do we
In
go from there?
Maha's defense on Bill Gates, they might be focusing on something else that he is really super interested in because the high wire is all tied into Maha. Bill Gates funds a new self-assembling contraceptive.
Okay, all right. Can somebody throw a pie in Bill Gates' face again? I mean,
all-time great video. This is the mark of the beast, I think, Garrett. Let's dig in to what Bill Gates is all about. I mean, look, the best contraceptive is just to look at Bill Gates. Okay. So funding from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they're divorced. Okay. It shows you how the communists still are all in for the cause. They continue to operate this foundation that's underneath both of their names, and they're divorced. All right. So Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, MIT, Harvard, and the Broad Institute concocted a new self-injecting contraceptive that uses tiny crystals. And once they're injected, they self-assemble inside the body to construct an implant that blocks pregnancy.
Steve, I don't like where we're going. We got the CRISPR, we've got whatever this is. We've got the oh man, the gene altering nonsense. What is this though? You inject it and it finds itself in your system, and what?
It's called a depot per the high wire. The crystals all like coagulate together and they form a depot, like Home Depot,
All right.
under the skin, and they release this medication, but it's not short term. Remember how like the mRNA just stays in your arm? Right?
Sure,
I'm
sure.
sure it doesn't go everywhere.
It doesn't go right to your heart.
It releases the medication over months or even years that you could have the mark, and then you could engage in all the commerce you want. The study fails to discuss side effects of the solvent used in the injection, and the solvent is BB, Bravo, benzoate. It's a biocompatible and has a poor ability to mix with fluids, which allows the solid drug crystals to self-assemble. So it doesn't actually like mix into your body. It actually stays in theoretically as a
Is their
foreign
claim. Yeah.
object in your body. And the benzoate, the BB, is it safe? The study authors note that it will go away, leaving behind crystallized drug structure, but it's also known as a skin irritant, and it's used as an insect repellent. So
Oh,
inject the
goodness.
mosquito
Yeah.
repellent into your body so that you don't have none of them kids.
You know, it's okay. Just think historically of the path that we're on here. Uh, in the what early 1900s ish is when they started saying, "Hey, eat, it's no problem to eat vegetable oil and soybean oil. Yeah, it's lubricant for engines and machinery, but don't worry, you can eat it, and it's better than beef tallow or butter or ghee. Just trust me, bro. Trust me, bro." And now here we are. Don't worry, it's not that bad for you. The benefits outweigh the costs of it, and it's safe and effective. Sure it is. And I think we've played this before. I had to pull it up. This Bill Gates video, dude.
Cited as some, mastermind, some evil plot in many, many cases. So what could cause an excess in a single year of 10 million deaths? Now, clearly a big war could, and a pandemic, natural or created by bioterror. Who's the bad guy here? Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. Well, this won't be the last pandemic that we face. We'll have to prepare for the next one. That will get attention this time.
You had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, he's dead, so
$300 million. He's donated to these various media organizations, which for sure has some sort of an impact.
I mean, I know it's just a mashup of clips, but we said it on the last episode. Satan doesn't come at you with a pitchfork. He disguises himself as an angel of light.
It's a pretty bad disguise when he talks about the next
Yeah,
pandemic and smiles afterwards.
right. And bioterror or global war or you don't have a choice. I mean, plain and simple, that's about as satanic as it can get, especially someone with that much influence.
Mhm. Now, not everything is going to be so obviously like the mark of the beast to stop having those pesky children. I saw a different study on the subject of contraception. This is some 3D, maybe some 4D chess that I had never considered, and it's a subject of the next one on the Saturday grab bag. All right, car seats as contraception.
What?
Yes. Okay. All right. Go with me here. This is this study is it's published at SSRN. It's just, I mean, all these science papers that are there. It was published, the piece itself, about 5 years ago.
Oh.
All right. And here's what the abstract says. Since 1977, United states have passed laws steadily raising the age for which a child must ride in a car safety seat, right? We just got to keep our kids safe. It's all for your safety.
Safety.
These laws significantly raise the cost of having a third child, as many regular sized cars cannot fit 3 child seats in the back. Using census data and state year variation laws, we estimate that when women have 2 children of ages requiring mandated car seats, they have a lower probability of giving birth by 0.73 percentage points. Consistent with causal channel, this effect is limited to third child births, is concentrated in households with access to a car, and is largely when a male is present because both the male and the female sit in the front. We have the kids have to be sitting in the back. We estimate that the laws prevent only 57 car crash fatalities per year. So 57 children's lives
57.
are saved. Simultaneously, they led to the permanent reduction of 8,000 births that year and 145,000 fewer births since 1980, 90% of the decline being since the year 2000, because as years have gone on, the restrictions have come in more and more, and the kids are basically shaving by the time they're out of the car seats. Now, you've got some young ones. Now, you do have a larger vehicle, but that makes a lot of sense, and I'd never thought of it.
No, never. And it really shows the layers and the depths of the control that they want to just force on you. Just comply. It's for your safety. It, the I was about to say abortion, but language matters here. Just murder your baby and things will be better. Just have one or two or none because your careers matter more and the zeros in your bank account matter more. It's it really is it really shows the depravity of I would say government writ large worldwide, because here, think of just the regulations you have on your car seats. I don't know if you ever dealt with this when you were a cop, but we had guys who would help people install. They were like, I don't know, certified to some degree to install car seats. And so people would come to the police department and be like, "Oh, can you help me install this? Because I don't know what I'm doing, and we're about to have a baby or whatever." Well, think of that, just by making it mandatory to have the size of the car seat larger and to have your child in it longer. I I never thought of this. Clearly somebody did along the way. Just take up more space and it's gonna reduce your global footprint as humankind, which it's another aspect of Bill Gates is the population control piece that he talks about a lot. And look at how all this kind of works together. And not I don't think many people would piece these things together, but they all play a role in if you're going to have more children or not.
And you could even look at it from the political standpoint of how everybody wins on this one when it's a one big party and we ain't in it. I mean, you have the population doomsday sayers, right? Like we have to get back to where we were 500 years ago when there was less than 500 million people. So basically, they're more murderous than any other communist dictator in the history of the world, right? They want to kill billions of people by orders of magnitude worse than Mao,
Mhm.
right? So they're achieving their mission. And then you also have the push for, well, we're gonna increase the economy because you got to get a bigger car, right? So that'll be good for the union jobs that are manufacturing them, and then the corporate Republicans are saying like, oh, it's good for business, it's good for GDP. We're just buying these cars that we don't necessarily need, and we're discouraging fiscal responsibility. I mean, if you were in your early 20s and you're even gainfully employed, but you're not killing it, you're not working in a corner office unless you're some sort of tech bro savant, buying a Honda Civic should be fine. I used Honda Civic and you're starting your family, but now you're like, hey, I have to make a decision. Do I have to go and buy this giant vehicle, this Yukon, or do we just put off having the kids? And then a couple years from now, it's like, it's just not going to be convenient. I don't have the energy. I don't have the time for another baby. Like you could see, like you said, it all just kind of weaves together. I had never considered that.
No,
And
never.
we went to the fire department. I was a cop and I said, look, I'm still going to the fire department because I
Yeah,
know those guys are certified to do it.
right.
Install my car seat.
Yeah. I watched a YouTube video, but I still don't trust myself on
I
this
did
one.
stay at a Holiday Inn Express, but still have my doubts. Another health one. And this one from the grab bag. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's running for Senate. So take everything with a grain of salt from all these politicians. I don't worship any of them. Treat them like a condom, use them, and then throw them out. Texas AG Ken Paxton, along the subjects of contraception, he's investigating General Mills over healthy claims, quotes around healthy. So the Texas Attorney General launched this investigation into General Mills, claiming the company illegally misrepresents certain food products as healthy. He claims the company markets cereals like Trix and Lucky Charms as healthy and good sources of vitamins, despite containing petroleum-based food and colorings. If you think Trix and Lucky
Yeah.
Charms are healthy, that's a you problem. You're retarded.
It's okay. So I got to put this up here, Steve. It's Kellogg's, not General Mills, but hey, one and the same in my world. Just look at this headline here. The strange story behind your breakfast cereal. Kellogg's cornflakes were originally created by a doctor who believed bland food would reduce people's urge to masturbate. So Dr. Kellogg.
Why didn't they just inject contraceptives?
Yeah, yes. Let's just get rid of the demons within you with this injectable. Um, but the cereals that, I guess not Tricks, but just if you just think of cornflakes and General Mills is involved here too, because it's like, oh, well, we're gonna make money, and we've been talking about health, and we've been talking about the future, but let's turn the page back into history for a moment. We talked about the soybean oils and this big push. This was right around the same time Dr. Kellogg also ran like a sanitarium, and it was, think back then. So he's talking about masturbation, and I'm not here. I'm not saying go and masturbate. I mean, don't, because the Bible is clear about how the sexual sin is also defiling yourself. And but back in the day, it was, you're a crazy person, you're deranged, you need to go into the sanitarium, and we're gonna feed you this bland porridge and wheat flakes that don't taste like much. And then look at the industry it's become, and it's like tricks, packed with artificial dyes and sugar, and then the company's claiming it's healthy. I don't like the government necessarily targeting a company because the dude's running for Senate, but I also don't like where we're at as far as health goes, because beef that's not altered by some mRNA jab is more healthy for you. Eggs, more healthy for you. Uh, Butter, more healthy. And we're at this point where I think a lot of people are starting to realize that, but many still just grab that box of cereal, and the healthiest thing they're going to put in it is their milk, but oftentimes it's skim milk and not whole milk, because we've also been given that lie that, oh, the whole milk has more fat in it. Yeah, well, if you remove the carbs and the processed sugars, that fat is good fat, and it's actually healthy for you. But I guess the long and short of what I'm trying to say is, General Mills is bad, but so is government targeting business. People just need to be, they need to take it on themselves to determine what is best for them. And maybe most people just aren't capable of that. We've had so much freedom and so much comfort for so long that people do. They just want to be they just want to be oh my goodness, I can't even speak.
Spoon
They want
fed.
to be spoon fed.
Nice callback to cereal reference.
Yeah, they want to be spoon fed their General Mills cereal by the government, and just simp for the government, and because, well, the government told me that this is better and they're bad. No, take it upon yourself to actually look into some of this stuff and say, what's better for me and my family? The government is, immediately when the government tells you something is bad or good, you should approach that skeptically and say, is it though? Let me go look a little bit on my own first.
Straight up. What's your favorite cereal, Garrett?
Fruity Pebbles.
Lies
No.
and propaganda. Nobody has a favorite cereal, because as soon as you say Fruity Pebbles, I say something like, yeah, but what about honeycomb? And you're like, oh, I
That's
forgot
pretty
about
good. I do like Cocoa Puffs too, and I haven't had any of these in a long time, but they are delicious, which is another way how they get you. A Golden Graham, Steve. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I mean, come
See,
on.
that's why they sell a variety pack. Nobody has a favorite, and they deliver it on trucks to the grocery store. So I'm going to use that as kind of a quasi, I don't know, link to the next story, which we got trucks that are being driven by no one other than Skynet.
Oh boy.
Launched in Texas. Driverless trucks rolling in Texas, ushering in a new era of reporting from Axios, which I had to sign up for. So now I'm going to get blasted with lots of emails. The company is called Aurora Innovation. They say it has successfully launched a self-driving truck service in the state of Texas, making it the first company to deploy the driverless heavy-duty trucks for commercial use on public roads in the United States. Aurora says it's been running freight this week between Dallas and Houston with its launch customers Hirschbach, Motorlines, and Uber Freight, and that it has completed 1,200 miles in a single self-driving truck without a driver. The company plans to build up to tens of self-driving trucks, so it's a smaller company, and they want to expand to El Paso and Phoenix by the end of 2025. And they've been pushing back on government regulation, because I guess if you're dealing with long haul trucking, they have to have the ability to put the cones and stuff down if you break down the side of the road. Otherwise, you can be cited. You can be in some sort of violation of the law, and if there's nobody driving the vehicle, it's not going to be able to do that. So they're negotiating back and forth with the government on it. But I think as far as not wanting to be a Luddite versus I do have concerns about my fellow man. I did just pulled up like a quick data on driving in the United States as a profession. So as of the latest data from American Trucking Association, there are 3.5 million professional truck drivers in the US. It's one of the most common jobs. It is the top job in 29 states.
Wow.
The average age of a truck driver is 46, which means that it's a profession popular among those with actual significant life experience and work experience. It's not just like, hey, I did that for a couple years before I got my real job. 46 years old is something you're probably doing for an extended period of time. And then just the demographics, it's predominantly male, 90% of the workforce. So 90% of the workforce male, and they could be losing that job in the not too distant future. At 46, you would be expecting to work for probably another 2 decades. I think we'll have a lot of self-driving trucks at that point. A lot of people out of work, and learn to code when you're 60 is not
Yeah,
going to
good luck.
happen.
And so think of some of the rippling effects of that. It's it's another piece of the control and the Bill Gates ideas of 15-minute cities and just relying on the government, because what are you going to do? What are you going to do when your whole work history doesn't matter because they've got something better that's automated? So you're going to, most people probably are then going to rely on the government. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go on some type of government assistance for the rest of my life because I can't get a job because I've driven a truck for 20 years and now that industry no longer exists. Some of this automation stuff I'm for. Like I go to the self checkout. Well, usually we do like a pickup. You still need people for that because they're grabbing your food off the shelves or whatever. But if we go to the store, we typically do the self checkout, which I like. But again, it goes back to the simplicity and the ease of modern technology, but also to the population control. You mentioned those who want to be worse than Mao and remove billions of people because they think the Earth can't handle it or sustain us. And I think that's a piece that's connected here is if we start eliminating people's careers and jobs, they're going to have less kids because they're going to be concerned about the future. And then tie in so many topics that we talk about so frequently, like the abortion mills, where people are already having less kids. Who knows what type of tech-based careers are going to thrive in the future, where then people are going to just be focused on that. And it really is interesting when you think of all the tentacles of how it's all connected and where the powers that be, the club that we're not in, how they want to control you, and really at a global scale. And then maybe it was a couple weeks ago, probably there was that power outage or near infrastructure break across Europe. Well, when you got all these trucks that are taking all of your goods to and from places, and then you get some type of attack from China into your infrastructure that causes the internet to go down. I got to believe that that's part of how these self-driving vehicles operate is is through the internet or through satellites and towers and 5G or whatever. Well, what happens then when those type of things start getting attacked, and or they go down quote unquote naturally, like nearly happened across Europe? Then what? Then there's catastrophe in the streets, I would think.
I just don't have faith in the people that are making the decisions that they've actually considered all the different factors other than just that one single factor. I'm not against efficiency. Look, you're going to have self-driving trucks. It's actually going to reduce the prices of goods. Maybe I'll be able to afford something that's not yellow tagged as it gets delivered to my grocery store because the prices come down. That being said, are you considering the downstream consequences? There could be a lot of unemployed people as a result of that. Has that factored in? It's no different than I have a factory and I'm going to produce this widget, and as a result there's some byproducts and I'm just going to dump it in the river. I don't care, right? I'm going to make the widget, and if I have to take that byproduct and clean it or take it distance to somewhere and process it, that's a higher cost. It's going to mean my widget's more expensive. I'm just going to dump it in the river. Well, there's downstream consequences of that, actual downstream consequences of it. Have those been considered? Frankly don't have faith in the people who have made these decisions that they've done that.
No, you can't have faith in these people. They're not thinking that far ahead. They're just thinking as the furthest they're thinking most likely is the next election cycle.
Mm.
And what can I do? Like Ken Paxton, what can I do just to kind of put my name on the map a little bit more? Oh, I know. I'll target General Mills or I'll target this widget manufacturer.
Our election cycles. All right, let's do a couple politics stuff. Reporting from Daily Wire. Exclusive. The Trump Justice Department cuts transgender grants and will use the money to fund law enforcement. Go figure. A novel concept. Department of Justice interested in the law.
How about that?
So after news broke that DOJ was slashing $811 million in grants, the legacy media, so the communists, they fear-mongered that the department was targeting victims of hate crimes and child abuse and school violence. So we're not going to be doing those things anymore. But the vast majority of the grants were grants awarded to non-governmental agencies, those NGOs, not to states or local jurisdictions. Those block grants that typically go to the police departments and county prosecutors' offices, which is, again, I have a problem with. Why are we paying taxes for you to then just redistribute it back to us? I think we should just cut the government. It's a leaky bucket. Now, here's a couple examples of where the money was originally going rather than to law enforcement agencies and prosecutors' offices locally. Diversity Center of Oklahoma, $200,000 to provide culturally responsive services to marginalized groups like Black and brown women, including Black transgender women, so Black dudes who feel pretty, in Oklahoma City. The grant specifically mentions that it will fund services including gender-affirming medical care. So the DOJ was funding the testosterone or the CHOP surgeries for people because of the melanin levels of their skin, which is exactly what the Department of Justice apparently existed to do under the Biden administration. The DOJ grants funneled $700,000. Look, if you got all your back pay and I got all my back pay, that's getting close around $700,000, right, Garrett?
Yeah.
But instead, the DOJ sent it to a Wisconsin-based Forge Inc. to be used to address major types of violence and crime against trans-identifying individuals and to add a particular focus on the experience of trans women, you mean dudes who feel pretty, of color, meaning men and boys who identify as females. Part of this effort would mean convening 23 listening sessions of trans survivors, struggle sessions with minority dudes who feel pretty. And the last one that I found from the DOJ was a grant of $250,000 to Washington State Department of Corrections, so that the prison system within the state of Washington. And it promoted transgenderism within the prisons. They wanted to pay for the surgeries for those dudes who feel pretty.
Think of the the crossover of justice, quote unquote justice, and why Steve, is there such a trend? I don't know if trend is the right word, but why is there so much criminality tied into the trans movement, if you want to even call it that? It's because these people have it goes back to our last episode at the end from Vodi Bakum's sermon where he referenced Romans 1. They have a reprobate mind. They have been turned over. So it's not just the trans, oh, I'm a guy and I want to be a woman. They have a depraved mind already. The trans piece is just one aspect of that. But also to the grant that came to my once great state of Wisconsin, $700,000 to focus on dudes who feel pretty, who are also checking the box of the DEI metric because it said trans women, so men of color. So you're only going to focus on that. Cut it all. Cut all of that. That's not the place of the government to even be wading into. And Washington DOC, what's your job? Your job is to house criminals, not to give them the snip and tuck because they suddenly or want the government to pay for it or suddenly feel like they're the opposite sex. That's not the government's role in any society, much less an allegedly free one.
You want the people who break the law legitimately and the ones who are not entrapped and we're not reinterpreting laws to probably be prosecuted. And if they need to go to jail, they go to jail, unless they're a Democrat, according to The Hill. And according to Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader, Jeffries warns administration against arresting Democrats, quote, clear lines that they just dare not cross. I mean, whether in recent history, has anyone ever faced arrest and prosecution because they were a political leader? I mean, how old were you in 2024? All right. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries hammered. This is The Hill. Okay. So he hammered the Trump administration so loudly that, did you hear it before today when I told you about it, Garrett?
Nope, I have not.
So, but he still hammered them nonetheless, threatening to arrest Democrat members of Congress. Those are the ones that, stormed the ICE facility.
Yeah.
So he said such a move would constitute a clear case of executive overreach. We're not going to be intimidated by their tactics to try to force principled opposition from not standing up to their extremism, which are words that don't mean anything, because we all saw the video of one of the members of Congress body slamming a federal officer, and she probably goes to jail for that.
Yeah.
If we're living in a fair society where nobody is above the
Yeah,
law.
exactly. The gaslighting is really at a surreal point, because it's not extreme to say you get arrested if you assault if you assault law enforcement. I saw another one, I think it was last night. I don't know when this occurred, sometime in this past week. It was of a city council woman, I think it was somewhere in New Jersey. And she was even more forceful than that congresswoman that we played the clip of the other day. But you don't get to bump into law enforcement. You don't get to interfere with law enforcement. You don't get to impede. We have laws. We are a nation of laws. How many times have you heard politicians say that? Even politicians like Joe Biden, who has said that for most of his career. And so when Hakeem Jeffries gets up here and is decrying the Trump administration for being extreme, when in the history of America is it extreme to arrest people who are impeding with law enforcement doing their job as dictated? They're not doing something that is against the law. And even if they were, I tell you from experience, when you're dealing with law enforcement who are corrupt, on the street is not the time to resist, unless you want it to go poorly for you. I hate that that's the reality, but it is. So you're going to have to go through the steps to fight it and resist it after that horrible tyrannical situation. But in this case, going to arrest people who came here illegally is not that. It's not government overreach. It's not tyranny. It's law enforcement doing what they're supposed to do. And now you have a politician saying, "Oh, how dare they? How dare they? They come and arrest politicians." Don't be running into law enforcement officers. Don't be grabbing at their wrists or grabbing their shoulder, or God forbid, trying to grab at their belt or their gun, or to intervene in any way with the legal justification that they have for being in the place that they're at, to arrest an illegal alien. Good luck with that. We absolutely should arrest these people. The congresswoman, this councilwoman in New Jersey, 100% should be arrested.
How about the Menendez brothers? let's talk about these. I mean, I know the Menendez brothers story sort of because it came about right around the OJ, right? It was like right after OJ when people were like really interested in court TV. But they might get out of prison, Garrett. And I don't know how you feel about this. I mean, maybe they've paid their debt to society after murdering their parents. I don't know, but who am I to decide? Let's talk about it. And there's reports from PBS again. I'm going to those places that I paid for, so I might as well. Unlike Axios, who I had to give through surveillance capitalism my email address to, so now they collect on me. Judge reduces the Menendez brothers' murder sentences, making them eligible for parole.
Why? I mean, you don't get to murder people and then get a lighter sentence. This is basic.
Well, you haven't considered all the factors yet. Come on, be a non-biased, non-partisan, fair-minded person here who endeavors to be an ACLU attorney from the 90s. Eric and Lyle Menendez will have a new shot at freedom after 35 years behind bars. The brothers were convicted in 1996 for murdering their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in their Beverly Hills home in 1989. So it took them 7 years to get convicted. The brothers were 18 and 21 at the time of the murders, so they were adults. Defense attorneys argued the brothers acted out of self-defense after years of sexual abuse by their father. Prosecutors said the brothers killed the parents because of their multi-million-dollar inheritance. Previous LA County District Attorney George Gascon, the Soros guy, remember who the LA people actually booted out of office because he was such a commie? He opened the door to a possible freedom for the brothers last fall because that's what communists do. They want the vile street animals on the streets hurting people. And he asked the judge to reduce their sentence before he was out of a job. LA County Superior Court Judge Michael Jessic issued his decision immediately. It was like a 2-day hearing, but he was like, I'm not waiting. I'm issuing this decision. The brothers spoke. He granted them a new sentence of 50 to 100 years of life. They have a hearing before the board scheduled for June 13th in a clemency petition that they've submitted also to Gavin Newsom. So I think Gavin Newsom, who wants to run for president, will not issue clemency.
Yeah.
And then he'll hand it off to the judge, who will probably just release them or something to that effect, right?
I think that's a sound assessment. Now, again, I don't know the case, frontwards and backwards. So maybe I'm talking out of turn, but I don't trust the government. So was it self-defense because they were getting sexually abused? In that case, sorry, parents, I would say let them walk. Obviously the government's case was strong enough back in the day to get them convicted, and were they trying to get their inheritance? Could be. And then they murdered their parents for that. Well, then you don't get out of prison if that's the case. So again, without knowing the case, as a former law enforcement officer, I really like to have all the details. I don't, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say the government's case is sound. We shouldn't even be having this. There shouldn't be a parole hearing or a resentencing hearing. You get to go to prison forever. And actually, if the government's case is strong enough, and I would say in any murder case, these people, they should have been on death row and taken care of long ago, and we wouldn't even be here because the Menendez brothers wouldn't be in existence anymore. And I think when the case is strong enough, I'm 100% absolutely an advocate for the death penalty.
All right, let's do one more fun one as we're closing it out here on the Saturday grab bag. And this one's on my mind because, for those who don't know, I had to do some dad chaperoning yesterday. There was a field trip for my 5th grade son's class, and they did something super educational. And they went to Busch Gardens and rode roller coasters. Physics, gravity was involved, right? We're measuring terminal velocity at some points. But I saw this story about Disneyland. Disneyland removed the silhouette of Walt Disney because people thought it looked like Donald Trump.
Oh,
okay. Now, look, it sounds like, oh, come on, the Trump derangement syndrome. Let's give it an honest assessment. Okay. So Disneyland had problems with a certain orange man. The theme park recently removed and replaced a silhouette of a man, probably Walt Disney, holding Mickey Mouse's hand. And some people thought it looked like Donald Trump. And then days later, it was completely gone and replaced. So let's look at the before and the after. Here's the before, and tell me, do you think that that's the mean orange man there holding Mickey's
yes, yes, without a doubt. I would say, Donald Trump and Mickey Mouse hanging out together.
And here's the after. Definitely not nearly as prominent of the hairstyle.
Yes.
This might actually have been kind of fair. I don't really care if Donald Trump holds Mickey Mouse's hand, but I thought it was funny.
That did look like Donald Trump, and then it arguably did not afterwards.
And as proof that we do have proof of life, and we don't like to put our kids' faces out there very much. You know, you're worried about the surveillance capitalism after all, and maybe just safety matters. But you will not recognize my child's face in this one because we were going down at 90 degrees, Garrett.
That
90
sounds fun.
degrees. I hadn't been to Busch Gardens in 20 years. Okay. Just allow me this slight diversion here. My son had never ridden a roller coaster in his life.
Oh,
So like a boss, he went on some really good ones.
yeah.
Okay. It was a 13-hour day, involved 6.5 hours of driving.
Whew.
So 50% of the time in the car. The other 50% of the time was at the park, during which time we did 4 roller coasters. So do some math.
Lots of line
4
waiting.
minutes of actual stuff that was fun. But I did get a nice fun photo because I was trying to explain to him steel roller coasters now are so sophisticated and they're fast and they're doing all these fancy stuff. Back in the old days, even before I was a kid, they had the wooden roller coasters, which had that added element of ricketiness.
Yes.
Busch Gardens has an aesthetically wooden roller coaster. It's steel, but they create that dynamic. So for the last one we went on, like straight on, no shoulder strap, just down on your waist. And you go at 90 degrees down a rickety roller coaster. And it produced that face right there of my 11-year-old. So I had to put him on blast. I'll have to tease him later that I did so because he's always wondering if I brought him up in the show. All right. I have a palate cleanse today, but let's close it out with your thoughts.
Yes, sir. Still in 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. Oh, I got to scroll down. Sorry. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever.
We must reject the lie that says there is no love that is out of bounds. Because ultimately, that lie that says there is no love that's out of bounds is a lie that says there is no truth in God. I'm a father 9 times over. And what that means is I am very well acquainted with the fact that love is not defined by allowing those whom you love to have what they want when they want it, just because they want it. Some of the most loving moments between me and my children have been moments when I have said authoritatively and unequivocally, no. Amen? And we see that here in this text. Why? We'll end with this. Look at it again. The world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever. Do you see what's happening here? This do not love the world is not God saying, listen, there's good stuff out there that I want to keep from you. That's the lie of the serpent. This do not love says that looks good to you and may even feel good to you, but in the end, you will perish. I'm calling you away from it because I actually do love you, and in loving you, I want you to abide in God, to remain in God, and to not perish. Because our desire is that Christ indeed may have the fullness of the reward for which he died. So do not love the world.
I mean, amen to that. You know, as parents, I can't help but think of in Proverbs where it says, "Raise up your children in the way they should go, for when they are old, they will never depart from it." And ultimately, God is our Father, and as dads, our job, our goal is to be as Christ-like as we can be. Don't get me wrong, we fail all the time. Still, I struggle with my own desires of the flesh, desires, lust of the eyes, flesh, and boastful pride of life. And it's, man, right now it's a daily battle because of our situations. May 17th. I mean, Steve, 2 years ago, I was driving with my family to Washington, D.C. to testify the next day. That next day is the first time I met you and Marcus in person for the first time. And the 8 months prior to that and the 2 years since have been a struggle. And many times I myself, it has been this struggle for the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the boastful pride of life. The boastful pride of life of, oh, I ascended to the peak of law enforcement, to the FBI. I was going to this new unit and thinking my career was on a certain trajectory. I wanted the things of the world, the 3,400 foot house with 3 acres of property around it, in nestled in Stafford, Virginia. I still struggle with those things because it's a constant struggle against the flesh. And I'm sure everybody listening, you can think of at least one thing that you lust after, either with your eyes or something you're prideful in your life, and or some fleshly desire that you have, or all of them. I mean, for me, it's all. And then to have the divine mandate to, as he talked about with your children, to raise them up. And I concur with him. Some of the most loving things I've done as a dad have been when I said, no, that is not good for you. You think it's good. It's not. It's the opposite of good. I think we might have one more of these to go, and then we'll move on to another one. But let me know what you guys think of this format. I've really been enjoying it. The couple sermons we've gone through in this way, a little where we focus on one passage for an extended period of time, and bring some additional context and study to it. It's good for me each time, and I hope it is for you all.
Well, I enjoy this. This is our job right now, Garrett, right? We're enjoying our job. And I'm in that sort of frame of mindset. And I'm also in the theme parks state of mind. So I found a good palate cleanse. I think merges them both together. This is a guy who loves his job.
What sound does the letter A make? Oh, can you do me a favor, please? Can you just check your strap? Can you just check? Do you want to know a fun fact about gravity? Did you want me to count you down or just go? You see that hut down there? You want a closer look? And we've got one more smiley face to look at. Here. Hey, now you see me? Now you don't. 3, 2, 1. Are we going on one or after one?
That's awesome. The Aussie or New Zealand accent even adds to the flavor. I love it.
So that'll close us out for today on the American Radicals podcast, guys. We'll be back with you Tuesday, 10:30 Eastern time. Until then, have a great day. See you later. Now you see me, now you don't.
You've been listening to the voice of the Suspendables on the American Radicals podcast. Follow us on rumble.com/amradpod.